guys, my name is Cecile, your full-time spoken word poet and creative, and this video is all about how to rest as a creative. And to be honest, this is really deep to my heart because I have not done this well in the past and I have made several errors, and hopefully this video will prevent you from making the same mistakes that I have over the years. So before we start, I do want to create a clear demarcation between rest, the act of rest, for example, going to bed, resting, and the art of being restful. One is a mindset, form of being, and the other is something that you do. And I think over the years, one thing I've realized is that I will work to the ground and then be like, I need to take a break, I need a rest. Which essentially what I'm saying when I say that is I need to go and sleep for 20 hours or I need to go away for a week only to repeat the same cycle. And what I've began to realize is that I need to move away from this act of rest, which is obviously important and necessary for the development of our bodies and for function and for healing, and move and transition more into a continual rest that is a state of mind, a state of being, and is something that I am doing consistently rather than incrementally or every now and again. And that leads me into my first point, which is about mindset. Truth be told, I am an overthinker. I overthink everything from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And I think part of that is just because life is busy and that's just who I am, but it's also because I'm a creative. But what I have realized in that is that I have failed often and many a time at being present. I was thinking about this the other day and I was sharing this on my story. My dad, he is terminally ill with cancer, and I spend a lot of time like making sure he's okay and doing kind of just everyday mundane tasks for him. And I remember thinking the other day that sometimes I can be so busy asking, are you okay? Do you need this? Are you sick? Do you want medication? Etc, etc, etc. That actually I'm forgetting to be present. I'm forgetting to be in this moment, actually acknowledging that you are here, that you are alive, that we can still have conversations. And I think the problem with not dealing with the mindset is that we begin to miss out on those valuable moments. And I think this applies to being a creative as well. I've often found that I have catastrophized my failures and minimized my successes. I've made my failures the main focal point of my career many a time, and I have forgotten about all the amazing things that God has allowed me to do and the platforms that He's allowed me to speak on. And part of that is because I'm actually just not being mindful and I'm not taking the time to acknowledge where I've come from and where I am now. And so I think the first thing when it comes to having a kind of restful mindset is to make sure that you are amplifying those successes, celebrating yourself when need be, and actually being present in the moment. Second piece of advice I would give is to think about what actually makes you feel restful outside of your creative work. Now, of course, if your creative work, for example, like me, is poetry and spoken word and performance, you may find some sort of rest somewhere in that field. So for me, I love to journal. I journal probably 2 or 3 times a day because I just need somewhere to articulate my thoughts and put them down. And actually what may seem a bit over the top or a bit over dramatic actually really helps me to stay present. It helps me to be appreciative. It helps me to reflect, and it helps me to be patient with myself. And so I think what's important is to find that thing for you, whatever it is. It may be connected to your creative field, or it may be something completely different. It might be going on a walk, it might be picking up painting, it might be learning to be a pilot, or whatever the case may be. But whatever that thing is, ideally it should be something that can be accessible, at least in the beginning, something that you can pick up when you need it. For example, you've got 2 legs, you can always walk, you can always bring a notebook with you, you can always, meditate, or you can always reflect. Those are things you can do at any point to get back to a state where you feel relaxed. My final piece of advice on how to be restful and how to find rest as a creative is to create routine. And I think this is probably the most important thing, because I think what was happening for me and for many other creatives is that you push yourself to the limit, a million miles an hour for 2 or 3 weeks or for however long of a period. And then what happens is you crash, and then you say, I need to go on a break, I need to go to Magaluf and sit on a beach and have some cocktails. And the reality of the matter is we shouldn't have to be in this rigid, vicious cycle where you have to go on a holiday, not because you've done something rewarding or because you deserve it, but actually because you are exhausted. I do think there is a really toxic culture around holidays. Why is it that there is the need to go on a holiday when there's a burnout? Why is that normal? I don't understand why that's normal. Look, maybe somebody can tell me, but that doesn't seem very normal to me. Holidays, in my opinion, should feel more like a reward. I've worked hard in a steady manner, in a healthy manner, and now I'm going to go and take a well-deserved holiday wherever I want to take that. I think that's a much more reasonable and appropriate way about thinking about holidays, rather than I crash and burn and then I've got to run on a flight to kind of recuperate again. I've found that routine is really important, and creating little pockets of space to actually find rest is really important. I found that there are certain parts of the day that I prefer to do things than others. For example, I don't want to touch any cooking in the evening. It stresses me out, it frustrates me. Everybody's in the living room, we have an open plan kitchen living room space. It's just not my vibe. But I don't mind waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning, taking my time for 2 or 3 hours and actually enjoying the process. So whatever that thing may be for you, or whatever those things may be for you, just find those pockets of time to, one, create spaces of rest. For me, I find reading very restful. I find reading very relaxing. It takes me to a whole other world. But also find the appropriate pockets to do specific things. So if that's in the morning, you prefer to cook, then cook in the morning. If that means switching your timetable, then do that. But it will help you overall to create a routine where you have a lot more rest and you feel a lot more relaxed. And as a result, you'll be a much better creative for it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I have so much more content for you, and I'm really looking forward to sharing more with you. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye.